Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta We are continuing with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 3, verse number 12. Dasa Sakha Pita Mata Kanta Ganalana Vraje Krida Kare Krishna Prema Vishtahana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Sri Krishna enjoys in Vraja with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and conjugal lovers. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Excuse me. The descent of Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is very purposeful. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one who knows the truth about Sri Krishna's descent and his various activities is at once liberated and does not have to fall again to this existence of birth and death after he leaves his present material body. In other words, one who factually understands Krishna makes his life perfect. Imperfect life is realized in material existence in 5 different relationships we share with everyone within the material world: neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental love, and amorous love between husband and wife or lover and beloved. These 5 enjoyable relationships within the material world are perverted reflections of relationships with the absolute personality of Godhead in the transcendental nature. That absolute personality, Sri Krishna, descends to revive the 5 eternally existing relationships. Thus, he manifests his transcendental pastimes in Vraja so that people may be attracted into that sphere of activities and leave aside their imitation relationships with the mundane. Then, after fully exhibiting all such activities, the Lord disappears. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it's a beautiful translation. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Sri Krishna enjoys in Vraja with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and conjugal lovers. So important, with his devoted servants. And this particular verse brings about a question: why does Krishna come? And that we have already learned in Bhagavad Gita. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He comes to protect his devotees and also annihilate the miscreants. Now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that if we know the truth about Krishna or his activities, no more birth. And that's also given in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yoveti Tattva, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanam, Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. There'll be no more. If only one can understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities, then after quitting this body, there is no more birth. So theoretically, we may understand this. Okay, we need to know how he appears and what his activities are. But do we really understand? To really understand that theory part, to realize it, we need the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna. Prabhupada says, to understand Krishna factually, you need to understand him factually, then one is perfect. And to do that, he has given us a very simple process. And above all, this process is being dependent on Krishna, you know, complete dependence, just like a small child is dependent on the mother for everything. Similarly, just like Prabhupada says, when we are chanting, it should be like a cry, just like the child cries for the mother. So when we have that um, that feeling, that will come only when we fully depend on Krishna. And if He wills, it is up to Him. He decides. If He wills, then only we will be able to understand Him. But that doesn't mean that we stop our endeavor. We sincerely continue to endeavor because Krishna sees our endeavor also. And then Prabhupada is talking about relationships, right? Relationships, they are realized in the material world and they are actually perverted reflection of what is in the spiritual world, right? We share love, we share respect, we share feelings with our loved ones, right? Those same five rasas are there, right? Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Those are there, but they are tinged with materialism in this material world. But that same rasa will become transcendental when we get purified. Material relationships, they are perverted, just like we learned about the upside down banyan tree, right? It's like a reflection of the actual banyan tree in the spiritual world. So, whatever rasas we are experiencing here in the material world, they are not only perverted, but that is not true love. You know, here in this material world, very easily people say to each other, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you too." Prabhupada says they are actually saying, "I lust you, I lust you," because it's a perverted reflection. But when there is purification, then this material rasa will turn into transcendental rasa. Right? So, as long as in the material world we are satisfied by the other person, we say, "I love you." The moment that expectation is gone, or the moment that other person is not ready to satisfy us, then we are not interested. Then there is a discord, right? Then it is like you go your way and I will go my way. Like it is very commonly said, love at first sight, divorce at first fight, right? So these relationships we need to understand in this material world, they are temporary, they are tinged with materialism until and unless we come to the level of Krishna consciousness. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what did he say? Lord, everything that I have, my family, house, everything is yours. And I want to use everything in your service. Now, that is not perverted, that is transcendental rasa, transcendental love. So, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to help us to revive that lost relationship with Krishna, that rasa, that pure love. He came to revive it. Same five rasas can help us to revive that lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the reason Krishna descends. That is the reason he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help us revive. Like Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is there within us. It's dormant. That relationship is dormant, but he's come to reawaken. So Krishna descends. He manifests his wonderful pastimes so that we get attracted to those pastimes. Just like in this material world, people get attracted to movies, they get attracted to film stars, they start worshiping them. That attraction is there because the movie has all the ingredients that are there for their enjoyment, right? So that attraction is there. So when they see a movie star at the airport or anywhere, they want to click a selfie with them. Why? Because for them, that is the attraction. But if we want to get attracted to Krishna, then we meditate on his pastimes, his transcendental pastimes. So that is the reason he comes down to perform his pastimes to help us to revive, right? Once we are attracted to Krishna's pastimes, then these mundane pastimes that are going on are not going to be so attractive for us, right? Just like the spouse, the body of the spouse may be very beautiful, and one is attracted to that beautiful body or handsome body or whatever it is, or well built body, whatever it may be. But how long is that going to last, right? The body is going to start aging. When once the old age creeps in, all that beauty is gone, right? All that beauty is completely gone. Then hopefully the spouse will realize, oh, what I was attracted to was just a bag of bones and etc., blood, etc. Right? It is the same body that a person was attracted to, but now what happened? No more attraction. So need to understand the difference between body and soul. It's the soul that is attractive. It is that soul that gives that consciousness to the whole body, that the body remains attractive, beautiful, or whatever it may be, right? The soul gives life to the body. So we need to become more soul conscious rather than body conscious. So after here it says, after exhibiting the pastimes, the Lord then disappears. Let's go to verse number 13. यथेष्ट विहारी कृष्ण करे अंतर्धान अंतर्धान करी मने करे अनुमान. Translation. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. So it is up to his will. He decides, when do I want to descend and when do I want to leave. It is his will. So everything happens because of Krishna's will. He decides what to do when. And he decides when to shower his mercy to whom. So it is all dependent on his will. Text 14. Chirakala nahi kari prema bhakti dana, bhakti vina jagatera nahi avasthana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. For a long time, I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. Purport. The Lord seldom awards pure transcendental love, but without such pure love of God, freed from fruitive activities and empiric speculation, one cannot attain perfection of life. How merciful He is. Even though He has disappeared, now He's thinking. What is He thinking? For a long time, I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service. Unalloyed. How very compassionate He is, right? What is the lesson we learn from this verse and the purport? That unalloyed loving service is the key to success. Like Rupa Goswami says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmani anamritam. Anukulena Krishna anushilanam bhakti uttamam. That bhakti, that devotional service has to be unalloyed and uninterrupted. That is the key to success. Without such loving attachment, he says existence is useless. One cannot attain perfection of life. So it is very important to have a very clear goal. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vyavasatmika buddhi eke he kuru nandana, bahu shakha. No bahu shakha. Our focus should be completely towards Krishna. That should be our very clear goal, right? Eke he kuru nandana. Krishna says, just me alone. Concentrate on me alone. Then once our goal is clear in front of us, that yes, this is what I want. You know, each one of us may have a different goal. Someone may want to stay in this material world and see what happens. I will just do bhakti casually and then I'll see what happens, whatever Krishna wants. No, Krishna will give us what we work for. If we have a clear goal, then we should learn to work towards that goal, not just have a goal on paper. Oh, I write in my diary, this is my goal, I want to do this, this, and this. On paper it is good, but it has to put into practice. And how can we put into practice? Only after we make a strategy of our goal, how to reach the goal. That strategy needs to be there. Just like we make a strategy in our material world. If we are doing business, we have a strategy. If we want to obtain a degree, we have a strategy that I'm going to attend these classes, these are the projects I will work on. So there is always a strategy necessary, then the goals are met, right? We cannot slacken also when we have a clear goal and then take a back seat and see, let's see what happens. No, there should be very clear goal. And then there should also be the not only the execution part, but when there should be a time limit. Okay, let me give myself X number of months or years or whatever, that this is where I want to reach. Srila Prabhupada has given us the process of Krishna consciousness that can help us to get such unalloyed loving service to Krishna. And that unalloyed service will not include any fruitive work or mental speculation. That is what Prabhupada is saying also in the purport. No fruitive activities and no empiric speculation. That means unalloyed, uninterrupted devotional service. And Prabhupada says that Krishna seldom awards pure love. Why? Because once one develops pure love for Krishna, Krishna is uh, under the control of the devotee. So Krishna doesn't, very cheaply, very easily give pure love to him. No. Long time ago, I had heard a story. I'm not sure if I have already related this story, but there was a big line in front of Krishna, and people were asking, for benedictions, like I want a green card, I want citizenship, I want $1 million home, I want this, I want that, I want a good husband, good wife, etc., etc., etc. And then one said, I want pure bhakti, I want pure love for you. Krishna said, move aside, stand on one side. So Narad Muni asked, why stand on one side? He does not award, he said, if I award pure bhakti, pure love to this devotee, then I'm sold to him. So I have to test. I have to make sure. I can't just, other benedictions Krishna will give easily, but pure bhakti, pure love for him is not very easy. We have to go through many obstacles. We have to go through many tests. Maya is going to test us and see, are we still firm? Are we still sincere on our path of bhakti? And then when we sincerely try and sincerely endeavor, then Srimati Radharani will notice. And then when she will recommend the devotee to Krishna, then pure love for Krishna will develop. Otherwise, no perfection. Verse number 15. Sakala jagate more kare vidhi bhakti braj bhava paite nahi shakti. Translation. Everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions. But simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees in Vrajabhumi. How beautiful. People are worshipping, and here it is said, according to scriptural injunctions. So worshipping Krishna as per the Shastras, yes. And many are following regulative principles strictly, right? I have come across devotees who are very strict about minute details in worship, etc. Now, these rules are necessary, but they are not all in all. It's not, we should not think that these rules are everything. We have to think, what is the purpose of these rules, right? These rules are necessary, but they are meant to help us to attain pure love for Krishna and not get absorbed in the rules, right? I have come across devotees who are so strict about rules. Oh, you need to wear dhoti like this. You have to put your tilak like this, and you have to sit like this, and you cannot do this, and you cannot do that. So many. It is nice to follow the rules. We should follow the rules, but we should not get so absorbed in that we forget the real purpose. Yes, the purpose of dressing like a devotee, the purpose of worshipping Krishna is pure love for him, to satisfy him, to please him, not these minute details. We should not get absorbed in these. So, how to attain loving sentiments of Vrajavasis? Here it is said in the translation, right? Loving sentiments of the devotees in Vrajabhumi. How? How can we uh, uh, attain those loving sentiments of all those who were living in Vrajadham, right? It is complete surrender, just like complete surrender of the gopis. If you remember the beautiful pastime which is there in Krishna book and also in Srimad Bhagavatam, that one day Krishna had a headache, and everyone was worried how to cure your headache, and he said, well, only the dust from my devotees' feet will cure my headache. So they went around, asking devotees, can you please give your dust of your feet so we can put on Krishna's forehead to remove his headache? No, 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 we cannot do that. How can we do that? We will go to hell. But the gopis, they didn't even think for a second. Immediately they gave their dust of their feet and said, okay, give it to Krishna, let his headache be gone. So the devotee said, but you will go to hell. Said, no problem, we'll go to hell, but at least Krishna's headache will be removed. That is complete surrender, right? He said, we don't mind going to hell, but we want to help Krishna. Complete surrender, Atma Nivedana, like Ambarish Maharaj, right? It's not easy to do Atma Nivedana, complete surrender. But if we perform our devotional service, our bhakti with sincerity and seriousness and leave the result to Krishna, let him decide whether we are qualified or we are not qualified. And Prahlad Maharaj has given us the 9 processes: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Shravanam is the first. So when we hear attentively, then we can say we have started on the path of bhakti. Right? Not just hear, but listen to the lectures intently, not casually, not do something else at the time. I have noticed many times in the temples when the lectures are going on. I don't know if in house programs this happens, but in temple generally, when the lecture is going on, some devotees are chanting their rounds during that time. So, what is happening? Neither they are able to hear the lecture attentively nor chant attentively. Can do two things at the same time. It's not casual at all. So, listening to the lectures intently, and also at the same time checking our behavior. How are we behaving? The way we are behaving, is it what the spiritual master would appreciate? Is it something that Krishna will appreciate? Right? And to do that, we need to associate with devotees. When we associate with devotees, then it will make us to be more careful because we don't want to commit any offense, right? We don't want to commit any offense towards any devotee because that can hamper our spiritual life. That we need to remember, right? Because as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, it's like a mad elephant destroying the garden. So similarly, committing an offense towards a devotee can destroy the garden of our bhakti, of our devotional life, of our spiritual life. So we need to be very, very careful. And I had recently posted what you call a very nice picture I saw on Facebook. I just copy pasted it, about what was that? It was speak less, if you remember, speak less, observe more, or whatever, those four things that were there. So I was meditating on it, and I know someone told me to talk about it in the,
Don't
I think it
react.
was Lila Krishna. Huh?
Yes. And it was don't react.
Yes, don't react. Yes, it is very easy to look at it, but to put it into practice, our tongue wants to talk all the time, unnecessarily also, right? We want to, if we are in a gathering, we want to speak. We want to show how intelligent we are. But here it says, speak less. What does it mean, speak less? Doesn't mean that we don't speak. It means we speak only Krishna Katha. Speak less of Prajalpa, not waste time in Prajalpa, right? And we have to listen more, not hear more. Hearing is you hear from this side and take out from the other side. Listening means you are hearing and contemplating on it. That is what is important, right? Listening means paying attention. And more important than listening is to listen without preconceived notions. We have already made a resume of everyone. Yes or no? We see somebody, aha, these are the bad qualities in this person. We have already made that resume. And when we are talking to that person, or I'm saying person, mean a devotee, it's very important not to have preconceived notions that, oh, this one did this to me, that's why this one is this. No. It could be that we have made a mistake in our analyzing, right? So, listening means paying attention without preconceived notions. And when we do that, then we won't react, right? Then we won't react unnecessarily. So, these are some of the Vaishnava etiquettes we must inculcate in our lives so that we are, not committing any offense. When we are speaking with someone, when we are listening to someone, first of all, no preconceived notions that this person is like this, and this, that's why this, and this. No. And above that, we must put ourselves in their shoes. Why is that person doing what that person is doing to us? Put ourselves in their shoes, right? Also, think about how the way I am speaking to this devotee, how would I react if that devotee spoke the same way with me? How would I react, right? So that immediately opens up a huge, what you can call a huge area of contemplation, right? Okay, if I am being rude to someone, to other devotee, how would I feel if that devotee was rude to me, right? So whatever attitude we have, that shows in our words, it shows in our body language. That is very important, right? Body language passes on so much information to the other person more than the words. Do you agree? It's the body language. It's like some a devotee speaking to him like whatever kind of. Immediately it will go to the other devotee's mind that yes, this devotee is not interested in talking to me at all. Yes. I saw the expression of Aditi Lata.
Arunita was asking what is body language. I was trying to explain that.
Oh, okay, okay, yes, yes, yes. So it's important that we are aware of all these small, small details because we don't want to offend the other devotees. Because if we offend, then our spiritual progress is hampered, right? We need to be also aware of the feelings and emotions of other devotees, not how I am feeling. Oh, today I'm feeling frustrated, so let me take out my frustration on whomsoever I see. No, right? I keep the frustrations. Why am I first frustrated? There are so many reasons why I'm frustrated, but I cannot relay those emotions and feelings to other devotees, right? Many times, the way we speak, the way we behave, our body language, all this, it gives an indication to the other devotee, I am not interested in you. Just leave me alone. That is very offensive. We need to think about it, right? Doesn't matter what our uh, problems may be in our material life, in our family, relative, society, office, whatever it may be, right? We may be in any what you call any state of mind. It doesn't matter. We have to control it, and we think about it, and think about this, that mm, that other devotee doesn't deserve this treatment from me, right? It is my problem. I have frustrations. I cannot take them out on someone else, right? And most of the time, the other devotee doesn't even deserve our attitude. So we need to be very conscious of our surroundings. It's very important. Speak less, which means no prajalpa. And what was the other thing? Speak less.
Hear more and react.
Hear,
React
yes,
less.
hear more, right? And also observe more. But when we are observing, no preconceived notions. We need to clean our slate. Okay, if today I was rude to one of you, which I should not be, but supposing I was rude to one of you, then when I see you next time, don't carry it in your head. Oh, Gita was rude to me. And then everything changes. The whole exchange changes, right? The whole association changes because that preconceived notion is there that she was rude to me last time. So we carry with us. And imagine if we keep carrying, how many times so many people have been rude to us, we carry that is heavy baggage on our chest. Who is suffering? Maybe I was rude to you. You are suffering because I was rude, but I have forgotten about it. So who is carrying the baggage? Right? So we should be very careful that the preconceived notion should be thrown out of the door, thrown out of the window. And during observation, realizations come about, right? So when we observe more, we will react less. Because when we are observing, we are, realizing, like, okay, so supposing one of you is associating with me and I'm frustrated and I'm trying to take out the frustration. If you are observing, right? If you're intently observing, you will start realizing. What will you realize? Oh, maybe she is not rude actually, but she is behaving this way, maybe because she's going through something in life, whatever it may be, right? So we have to be very, very careful when we are associating with devotees. So not react instantly. Oh, you did this to me or you didn't do this to me. That is not going to help. And what happens that we have expectations from other devotees. Oh, that devotee should give me respect. Why? Just worry about ourselves. I want to give respect to everyone. What does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say, right? Trinadapi sunichena Tarorapi Sahishna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniyas. I want to give respect without expecting respect in return. When we are expecting to be respected, that is when we feel offended. Why expect? Whoever wants to give respect, fine. If they don't want to give respect, fine. But I will continue to give respect. And when we are not receiving respect, there could be many reasons for that. But we do not need to dwell on that. Our duty is to give respect without any expectation. Then it is up to the other devotee to respond or not respond. Why waste time in contemplating on their behavior? Why? It is better to use that time in chanting and reading. And I remember hearing this in a lecture that if the other devotee is not really respectful or not being friendly or whatever it is, something that is causing disturbance for us, I heard that we need to serve that devotee, serve that devotee. And the more we will serve the devotee who is upset with us, the more the association will start fructifying. Then that devotee will say, oh, yes, I'm unnecessarily being, rude to this person. It's very hard, right? If someone is rude to you and you serve them, how do you serve them? Raise your hands if you can do that. It's very tough. But it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible. I remember a few, maybe 3 years ago, yes, the other devotee felt offended by me and I didn't know what was the reason. Then I had heard in this lecture, serve, serve, serve. Continue to serve, continue to smile, continue to offer respect without expecting the same response. You see, the problem comes in expectation. We start expecting this one should speak to me like this one should behave like this one should say Hare Krishna to me, this one should smile at me. No, why? Who are we? And recently, we get those small snippets of Guru Maharaj in the WhatsApp group. What did he say? He said that we must offer respects to the other devotees. Why? Because the super soul is within the heart of that other devotee, right? So when we are in front of a devotee, we offer respects. Even though that devotee is not interested in us, we are still offering respects because the Supreme Lord is within the heart of that devotee. And we are also offering respect to our spiritual master by offering respect to that devotee. And he also said, tolerate if that other devotee is ignoring us. It is their loss, not our loss. We continue to offer respect to everyone. We should not stop that, and we should take this picture to heart. Speak less, observe more, react less, right? That reaction, when we react, that is when the problem comes. So we need to stop reacting instantly. We need to observe, we need to listen, and need to speak less, which means speak only Krishna Katha. So I'm going to stop now. If anyone has any questions.